Global warming. We've all heard about global warming, but what is it? If you do a web search for word clouds on global warming, here are some of the words you'll see. Drought, carbon dioxide, renewables. But what does it all mean? To understand what global warming is, you first need to understand what scientists call the greenhouse effect. Here's how Australia's Department of the Environment explains the greenhouse effect. Radiation from the sun travels through space and reaches the Earth's atmosphere. The atmosphere, which is the layer of gases that surrounds our planet, reflects some of the sun's radiation back out into space. The rest is absorbed by the land and oceans, heating them up. As well as gases like the oxygen that we breathe, the atmosphere contains a small amount of what are called greenhouse gases. According to the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, or NASA, greenhouse gases make up less than 1% of the atmosphere, but are very important. They trap some of the sun's heat before it can escape back out into space. This is called the greenhouse effect, and it's what keeps our planet warm enough to sustain life. Some human activities like burning fossil fuels, clearing forests, and even farming increase the amount of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. With more greenhouse gases, more heat is trapped. This is called the enhanced greenhouse effect, and it's what is causing human-induced global warming. There are several things humans do that release greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. But according to the US Environment Protection Agency, burning fossil fuels to produce energy, like electricity, is our biggest contributor to greenhouse gases. Fossil fuels, which are oil, natural gas, and coal, were formed from animals and plants that lived millions of years ago. Once used up, they will take millions of years to replace. That's why they are called non-renewable fuels. They can only be used once. So what else could be used to produce energy? Renewable fuels, which can be used over and over again, are things like the sun, wind, and water flows. They don't release any greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. This is why using renewable fuels instead of fossil fuels helps slow down global warming. But why do we want to slow down or stop human-induced global warming? Thousands of scientists from 195 different countries are part of the global organisation called the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. They're concerned about global warming because it leads to changes in climates all around the world. This climate change can result in some devastating effects, such as damage to vulnerable areas like Australia's Great Barrier Reef, the endangering of many plants and animals that won't be able to survive if their environment changes, more extreme weather events like droughts, heat waves and floods, and rising sea levels, which would lead to greater erosion along coastlines and even the loss of some entire small islands. So, although global warming sounds like a good idea when you're trying to keep warm in winter, it leads to climate change, which brings with it some very undesirable consequences. So what can we do to help stop human-induced global warming? As the burning of fossil fuels to produce energy is the biggest contributor to greenhouse gases, how about we try to decrease the amount of energy we use? This can be as easy as switching off the lights when we leave a room, walking to the shops instead of driving, and having shorter showers. The amount of carbon dioxide that is released into the atmosphere because of the things you do is called your carbon footprint. What other ways can you think of to reduce your carbon footprint?